Wagwan Road Boy. This is a review for the VFC MP7 GBB or gas blowback airsoft marker. As you probably or hopefully know, I have recently uploaded a detailed showcase including a few different tests about the VFC MP7, and now it's time for the review where I'll talk about my opinion and my experience with it. I like to start with positive aspects, then go into some negative aspects, and in the end we will have a conclusion. So let's get right to it. Right off the bat, as you know, I'm not a big fan of all polymer airguns or airsoft markers, but the plastic or polymer really feels decent on this MP7. It doesn't give in when pressing hard on it, and to be fair, some of its parts are made out of metal. Since I'm left-handed, I appreciate the fact that the controls are on both sides and they are functional on both sides, so it works for either left or right-handers. The fact that you can additionally get some Picatinny rails to put on either the left or the right side or both is also good. Obviously more attachments, more, I don't know, just more. The overall performance in terms of accuracy and power is also very good, regarding that the MP7 is so small and therefore also has a small or short barrel length. And not only does the MP7 reach about 1.5 joules, it also surprised me with how much kick it has, or in other words, how strong the blowback effect is. I was also very happy with the gas efficiency, meaning that I could get a lot of shots out of a full magazine, and on top of that I didn't encounter any feeding issues with the magazine itself and with the MP7 in general. No malfunctions whatsoever. Also, I'm a fan of how easy it is to adjust the hop-up on the MP7 without needing any tools. And then the last positive aspect that I want to mention, which also is probably one of the most important ones, is the price. And I gotta say, with around $300, you really can't argue with what you get from the MP7. The only downside, as usual with gas blowback rifles or pistols, is that the magazines are very expensive, with around 80 euros or dollars. Now let's continue with some negative aspects. I would have preferred it if the muzzle thread would have been 40mm counterclockwise, just because it's more commonly used in airsoft attachments. The second negative part is, surprisingly, the trigger. And I didn't expect this because, from my experience at least, VFC triggers either on GBB rifles or GBB pistols were some of the best. So the trigger of the MP7 doesn't really have a noticeable wall. That's my problem here. So when you pull the trigger, the shot breaks when the trigger is very far back without a noticeable wall, as mentioned, and then you release it. You have a really clear and noticeable release point. That's great, but the release point is very far at the front. So then you have to pull the trigger again quite a bit backwards until it eventually breaks. So it's not like a reset and then immediately sit on the wall ready to do the next shot. I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. But as mentioned, it works perfectly fine. It's just that I'm used to better triggers from VFC. Let's also quickly talk about the muzzle device or fake suppressor that I put onto the MP7 in the showcase, since I do think it's specifically made only for the MP7. And while it looks awesome, I do have a problem with it, because even when it's completely screwed on, the main part of the suppressor can still turn. If you now shoot a lot with the MP7, the blowback can lead to the thread unthreading itself. The suppressor comes loose, is not completely centered anymore, gets a bit tilted, and then when you shoot, the BB hits the inside of the suppressor, or at least that can happen. It doesn't need to happen, but it can happen, and then this will lead to some damage inside of the suppressor, which costs around $100, which is just too much for what you get, in my opinion. Let's get to the conclusion. When comparing the VFC MP7 to other airsoft markers, especially in the GBB market, I do think that you get an exceptionally good package here for only around $300. The performance was also more than enough for such a small airsoft marker. Even when using the MP7 in lower temperatures, it still performed fairly good, much better than other airsoft markers, GBB airsoft markers, from different companies. I didn't encounter any malfunctions, any feeding issues or anything of that nature. It's easy to set up, it's easy to get going, it's easy to adjust the hop up, no gas leaking from the magazine or whatsoever, so no headaches with the MP7, worked perfectly as it's intended. What else is there to say? The only thing that I would honestly pass on is the suppressor. I haven't looked into it, but there has to be a better option out there. Anyway, Thanks for watching, bless and love.